Good evening, everybody. This is Spencer Keck with the Hillbilly Think Tank. I am the educated hillbilly, and no, don't call me anything else but educated. So I'm coming at you live from Tunnel Hills, Kentucky, and it's obvious that in the U.S. legislative body, Chuck Schumer is Neville Chamberlain. Hakeem Jeffries is Neville Chamberlain. Catherine M. Clark, she's Neville Chamberlain. Dick Durbin is Neville Chamberlain. John Fetterman is Neville Chamberlain. While Dementia Don wakes up just long enough every day to plan his takeover of a whole hemisphere, the quintet of Chamberlain Democrats do nothing to fight the impending annexation of Greenland, Canada, Iceland, Venezuela, and hell, probably Mexico. The Neville Chamberlain Democrats, they have no cojones for defending our democracy. We got these brown shirt fascists trying to take over America and the Arctic Circle. With Sleepy Don, he opens his eyes long enough to threaten Europe with 200% tariffs for sending French, German, Danish, and other NATO troops to defend Greenland from an armed takeover by the USA. The European Union responded by saying they can lose us as trading partners because our bourbon and soybeans are not worth the cost of Greenland's freedom. Now, Dozing Don has offered every single Greenlander, all 57,000 of them, a national buyout of $100,000 per citizen. $5.7 billion US was not a price Greenlanders are willing to pay for their freedom. They have free health care now in Greenland. They're not willing to become the 52nd state, since Dementia Don calls Canada the 51st state, and give up a lifetime of Danish free medicine and NATO protection. Kentucky farmers, ranches, and distillers, couldn't we use $6 billion to recover from our state losses in the bourbon industry, unsold soybeans, and the troubled American beef ranches here? When will the U.S. Neville Chamberlain corporate Democrats step aside and let real leaders with a fighting spirit put an end to this chaos? When will rolling over for fascists that are wrecking our nation's markets be seen as only the acts of cowards or political dilettantes? Neville Chamberlain corporate Democrats act as if we are only going through a phase with a cranky, teething toddler when we are in the throes of traumatic upheaval of the American dream. And we get on the ideals of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness for all with these sons of bitches. Kentucky, united we stand and divided we fall. We are our brother's keeper and our sister's keeper. We love our neighbors as ourselves in Kentucky, and we won't stand for this crap. So, got a few of you on here. Hopefully, let's see what we got to say, guys. So we got Eljo Cool. All right. Strong. Way to go. Tom Armstrong, the mainstream Democrats are far to the political right of center. Yeah. Yep, they sure are. Tom also says, I have taken to calling them the Vichy Democrats. Exactly. Neville Chamberlain Democrats, Vichy Democrats. What's the difference? After the Vichy French who collaborated with the Nazis in the early 1940s. Exactly. If they don't want me to consider them Vichy Democrats, says Tom, they would do well not to act the part. Exactly. Well, if they don't want me to call them corporate Neville Chamberlain Democrats, just the rollover people who will allow the brown shirts to take over here and, our imperialistic Don to take over the whole hemisphere that we're in, then yeah, they got to quit acting the part, like you said. All right, got the Renaissance hillbilly on here. I love that. Renaissance hillbilly. I'm not sure which is better, my hillbilly think tank nomenclature or yours. That's pretty darn cool. Renaissance hillbilly says, yo, and yo, 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 right back at you. All right, y'all. So that's it. We have got to turn this whole shenanigans upside down, shake it out, get rid of this crap. We got to get back to real constitutional rule. We got to get back to the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as being the basis of everything that's done for us, to us, by us. Because the whole world doesn't need to be our enemy. Used to be, yeah, they wanted to be just like us. They wanted to buy our jeans. They wanted to wear t-shirts like we do. They want to be the stiff upper lip sons of guns that we left behind. But now we're going to let the oligarchy take control. And no one wants to be like that. That's not why they looked up to us. Tom says, not as many U.S. folks know how much of a problem Chamberlain was, but it seems to me that they know Vici as the epithet it really is. Okay. Yeah. So anybody that doesn't know, Neville Chamberlain was the the prime minister of England for 3 years. And so he's the one who kept on allowing every time that the mustache motherfucker would say, oh, I'm just going to go take over this part of Poland, this part of Czechoslovakia, because there's Germans that live there. Then I'll stop. And he kept letting it happen and happen and happen until, boom, it was obvious all of Europe was the mustache dude's goal. And he didn't have a mustache as nice as mine. So, and then Tom says, and then there's the Maquis. All right, Renaissance Hillbilly says, Democratic leadership is in the bag for big money too. Exactly. That's why I call them the Neville Chamberlain corporate Democrats. Heaven forbid they buck the orange menace and piss off a billionaire. Exactly. And I guess they just don't give a shit. Maybe they know they got enough money from doing insider trading on, Wall Street. They may go in, most of them less than millionaires, and come out millionaires. Some of them even almost billionaires themselves from that insider trading. They should not be able to do. If you work in anywhere in Supreme Court, White House, or Capitol, you should not be able to trade stock on Wall Street. That's simple. We need to get rid of corruption. And that's the only way to do it. Pay them well enough so they can afford the high cost of living in DC and smack their peepees if they do anything corrupt, if they do any grifting. That will end these shenanigans. Get rid of Citizens United. And while we're at it, we need to open up those Epstein files now, not yesterday. It's overdue. But yeah, they think they're above the law. All right, yo. Bless our corazon. Let's have a good evening, good night. Thanks for coming out and supporting. Remember to vote for me when it comes time in November. I'm running for magistrate here in Hardin County, Kentucky, District 3. The election in November is going to mean everything. And before that, some other races, we've got primaries. We need to make sure anybody that's in this primaries are not in the pocket of billionaires or other special interests that have no interest in the American worker, the American farmer, us middle class and poor folks. The billionaires can eat sand. All right, y'all. Have a great evening. We'll catch you tomorrow. Please hit like and subscribe to my channel. That'll help get this message out so we can take back our nation from the billionaires.